As a cat with 10 years of experience in the wild, Puss in Boots has gathered for himself a lifetime collection of nicknames: the Furry Lover, Chupacabra, Frisky Two Times, and the Ginger Hitman. But among them all, the name Puss in Boots is still the one he takes the most pride in. Back to the present, for some unknown reason, he is constantly being hunted. Yet no prison has ever been strong enough to keep him for more than a day. Once again, Puss in Boots makes his escape, but he also steals another ring and says it's fair payback for his emotional damage. Unfortunately, the hunter wakes up just before he can get away, and a duel is something he can't avoid. With his agility and sharp reflexes, he skillfully dodges every strike from the hunter, but because he gets a little too carried away laughing, he fails to notice the man's flip-flop strike. It's embarrassing, though he still manages to escape in the end. Before leaving, Puss in Boots blows a farewell kiss to his brief love affair, and his wandering days continue once more. Later that night, he decides to stop by a tavern to drown his sorrow, but his small figure, along with his rather unusual sense of fashion, makes everyone in the bar burst out laughing. Someone even pulls out a chair as a prank, but instead of his whole body, only his shorts fall down. But Puss in Boots still stays calm and composed, taking a seat at their table with an air of quiet confidence. When one of them realizes he's a wanted cat, they try to sneak up behind him, but Puss in Boots immediately shows them what it means to be small yet mighty. Once the crowd finally settles down, he starts asking if there's any place nearby where he can find something valuable. Someone suggests robbing the golden statue in the church, but he refuses, saying his conscience won't allow it. What about the orphanage then? Don't mess with me, I'm charming, not evil. It's not until someone mentions a couple named Jack and Jill and their precious magic beans that Puss in Boots perks up and sets off right away. Meanwhile, Jack and Jill are busy hiding those magic beans. Instead of locking them away like normal people, they decide to lock their own hands together just to be safe. After that, the two go to a motel to rent a room, only to be told that no rooms are available. Jill immediately draws her weapon and takes down a guest, and then a room suddenly becomes free. Outside, Puss in Boots tries to find a way in. As soon as he cuts the glass to step inside, he notices another black cat who is also planning to steal the magic beans. Neither of the cats gives way, and as a result, Jack and Jill discover them. However, the black cat is quick and manages to escape, leaving Puss in Boots alone. Not only that, it gives a teasing and challenging smile, which makes Puss in Boots unable to resist chasing after it. What follows is an incredibly intense cat-on-cat chase, during which Puss in Boots almost gets impaled in a very sensitive spot. He pursues the black cat all the way to a meow bar, and when he sees it in front of him, he warns it to be ready for anything. The surrounding audience tenses up, anticipating the upcoming battle. But instead of starting a Muay Thai fight, the black cat suddenly begins performing the Lamba dance. It turns out that a dance competition happens that night. Puss in Boots decides to show it what a real cha-cha-cha looks like. There are also a yoga dance, a toilet dance, and a butt-shaking dance. In the end, they are evenly matched, so both of them turn to sword fighting. At the most critical moment, Puss in Boots strikes the black cat in the face with his guitar. Only then does he realize that it is actually a very seductive female cat. Infatuated with her, Puss in Boots chases after Kitty to apologize, but he does not expect that he also encounters the person he hates most here. That person is none other than Humpty Alexander Dumpty, and now Kitty steps down and says that they should forget the past. But Puss in Boots only gets angrier when he learns that Humpty is the one who hired Kitty to sabotage him. It turns out that Humpty wants Puss in Boots to cooperate with him by combining Humpty's head, Puss in Boots' sword, and Kitty's soft paws so that the three of them would become the first to steal the golden egg. But because he is still angry about the past, Puss in Boots refuses to cooperate even though Humpty chases after him. Then Kitty uses a flashlight to tease Puss in Boots, and she even shows him her money bag, which makes him realize that she is dangerous and he likes danger. Kitty begins to seduce Puss in Boots with sweet words and promises to forgive him if he agrees to join. And although it is difficult for a hero to resist a beauty, he apologizes to Kitty because he is still very alert. Kitty becomes angry because he refuses to cooperate, and he begins to tell her a story once upon a time, and as soon as she says no need to tell at all, Puss in Boots makes her sit down to focus on listening. Everything begins long ago when Puss in Boots is just an abandoned kitten blown from place to place by the wind until he drifts into an orphanage and meets Mother Imelda, who loves him like her own son even though she already has many children. Mother Imelda is gentle except at times like this, and during his first meal, Puss in Boots has all his beans taken away by a bald kid. He is about to punch him when the kid introduces himself as Humpty Alexander Dumpty, and because of his round body, Humpty is often bullied by other kids. because Puss in Boots is annoyed, he stands up to give them a beating, and thanks to that Puss in Boots and Humpty become close friends. Then Humpty tells Puss in Boots about his dream to find the magic beans and reach the castle of the giants where the golden goose lays its eggs, and the two of them cut their hands to swear to accompany each other on the new journey. Puss in Boots and Humpty cooperate very well because Humpty has intelligence and Puss in Boots has skills. And soon the beans they collect turn into a bean garden, but there is no giant beanstalk. Years pass, and both begin to get discouraged. Instead of looking for magic beans, they look for more trouble. And they reach the age of rebellion. In a moment of frustration, Humpty accidentally lets a bull escape, and seeing someone in danger, Puss in Boots rushes to redirect the bull, because he saves the commander's mother. He is hailed as a hero, and Mother Imelda is proud of him and gives him a pair of boots as a symbol of honor and justice. After that, the fate of the two friends begins to turn because Puss in Boots becomes more and more famous, while Humpty becomes more and more depraved. And no one remembers him. One time Puss in Boots bails Humpty out of jail. Humpty invites him to join the last mission, but he refuses. At night, while Puss in Boots is sleeping, Humpty suddenly wakes him up saying that he needs his help, and the two quickly move to the place Humpty designates so that Humpty can hang over the wall. Puss in Boots does not know that he is helping Humpty rob a bank, and by the time he realizes, it is too late and everyone misunderstands him as an accomplice. So he has to run away. On the way, Puss in Boots accidentally sees Mother Imelda, which confuses him, and in a minute of carelessness, he derails the carriage right at the bridge, seeing everyone chasing closely behind. He decides to leave Humpty behind to pay for the mistakes he caused, although Puss in Boots jumps into the river to escape. No matter how many times he jumps, he still cannot atone for his sins, and since then he has lost everything: brothers, honor, homeland. Has to wander here and there just because of Humpty's betrayal. Hey, I have not finished telling you yet. At this moment, Humpty appears to apologize for the past incident and asks to cooperate with Puss in Boots one more time to find the magic beans, and if this time they succeed, both of them can pay off all their debts to the bank. After a minute of thinking, Puss in Boots agrees, and so the two cats and one egg form a gang team. The next day, when Jack and Jill are transporting the magic beans, Puss in Boots and Kitty take advantage of the moment when the carriage passes through a ravine to jump down, and as soon as they see the magic beans, Kitty is about to jump, but Puss in Boots quickly stops her because there is a herd of pigs below. Kitty switches to picking the lock, and Puss in Boots wonders why she does not use her claws to be faster, which leads to an argument. A pig is awakened, so Kitty is forced to jump down to put it back to sleep, and Puss in Boots takes the opportunity to use his claws to pick the lock. With her nickname Kitty Soft Paws, Kitty successfully retrieves the magic beans from the box. As Puss in Boots and Kitty are about to escape, Puss in Boots accidentally steps on a pig's tail, which causes Jack and Jill to notice them, and a fight becomes inevitable. Puss in Boots and Kitty manage to hold off Jack and Jill, and then it is Humpty's turn as he drives the carriage close behind. Just as Puss in Boots is about to jump, Jill knocks him out, and in his dizzy state he accidentally drops the magic beans and has to pick them up. When the carriage exits the tunnel, Jill breaks free to counterattack, and she quickly grabs Puss in Boots, but Humpty promptly assists him to escape. The danger is not over yet because Jack and Jill's carriage is also equipped with weapons. Seeing a dead end ahead, Humpty shows no sign of stopping, because successful people always find their own way, so he activates the carriage's wing to help the three of them escape from danger. Then Puss in Boots realizes that if they combine forces, the three of them will become an invincible trio. Kitty also begins to open up and tells the story behind her nickname Kitty Softpaws. She used to be a stray cat with beautiful claws and was adopted by a family who fed her milk every day and loved her, but because she constantly damaged the curtains, so they cut her nails. Puss in Boots and Kitty are sharing a tender moment when they are suddenly interrupted by Humpty, who says they have reached the place they need to be. Finally, the three of them find a spot to plant the seeds, and Humpty gives Puss in Boots the beans because he deserves to plant them. The three go deeper inside, and Humpty says here, so the two cats immediately dig deep to plant the magic beans. The sky fills with strong winds and the ground begins to shake, and before long a tornado rushes down while the magic beans sprout immediately, but they grow only 20 centimeters tall, leaving them to wonder if the magic beans are malnourished. Kitty suggests speaking gently to the plant because it has feelings of its own, and as soon as Humpty finishes saying hello, the magic bean tree grows instantly. All three almost fall if they do not hold on in time, but the magic bean tree also brings Puss in Boots and Kitty closer together. After experiencing the 4 seasons of spring, summer, autumn, and winter, the tree finally stops growing, and at that moment Humpty accidentally slips and falls, but luckily a cloud catches him, so he is still safe. After that, the three of them spend some time playing with the clouds, but every time Puss in Boots and Kitty are close, Humpty interrupts. He even gives Kitty a murderous glare. Then Kitty spots the giant's castle. Humpty quickly disguises himself as a golden egg and goes inside with the 2 cats. Puss in Boots volunteers to take on the giant, but Humpty says the giant has been dead for a long time. Now only the golden goose and the great terror guard the castle. The 3 of them move quickly to find the golden eggs, but Humpty struggles because of his short legs and tight outfit. He is careless, so he accidentally drops the glass and it shatters. The great terror hears the sound, so it comes looking. But Puss in Boots and Kitty use a champagne bottle to cross to the other side. Now they just need to help Humpty swing over. But the great terror is pacing around, so they hide under a tree. Humpty's claustrophobia flares up and he struggles to breathe. Kitty zips him up almost to the point of killing him. Once the monster leaves, they finally find a garden full of golden eggs. Humpty gets so excited he nearly dies. Then they realize the eggs are too heavy to carry, and the golden goose appears. They decide to take the goose instead of the eggs to lighten the load, but the great terror notices and goes berserk, chasing them as they climb to the other side. The rope snaps under the weight of the goose, and they fall into the abyss. Before they can recover, the monster chases them again. Kitty slips into the water for a moment, and Puss in Boots abandons everything to rescue her, tossing the goose aside. Ahead there is a waterspout awaits them. Humpty grabs the goose just in time and they escape through the sewer. Humpty tells the goose to fly away fast, though it's not very fast. Kitty arrives in time to save them, but Puss in Boots causes trouble and they all fall again. In the end, Kitty helps them escape. Humpty suggests cutting down the tree to prevent further problems. Meanwhile, Jack and Jill are changing the pig's diaper when they notice the beanstalk falling toward them. They realize it's Puss in Boots' friends and quickly run to the end of the tree. At night, the 4 of them celebrate with a cha-cha-cha party for finding the golden goose. Puss in Boots and Kitty flirt, but Humpty interrupts every time. Just as Puss in Boots tries to confess he wants to stay with Kitty forever, she tells him to leave immediately before he can react. Humpty interrupts again. Kitty says she's tired and leaves. After dancing their fill, everyone goes to bed. Then Jack and Jill appear from behind and punch Puss in Boots unconscious. When he wakes up, he sees no one but the tracks of Jack and Jill. Puss in Boots realizes his friends are in danger, so he packs his things and sets out on a rescue mission, following the tracks. He soon returns to the place where everything began, the very spot where he goes from hero to sinner. After searching everywhere, he finally sees Humpty, who is about to be turned into a fried egg. Puss in Boots shouts loudly, unaware that they are only celebrating. It turns out everything is part of Humpty's plan. Humpty has colluded with Jack and Jill to use Puss in Boots to find the golden goose for them. His real goal is revenge for the old grudge, since Puss in Boots left him on the bridge and escaped. All the while, Humpty follows closely behind, without Puss in Boots noticing. Just as Puss in Boots is about to fight back, Humpty calls for the guards. To make matters worse, Mother Imelda suddenly appears and tells him don't run anymore, out of love for his mother and not wanting to disappoint her. Puss in Boots gives up his weapon and enters the cage. To make things even more painful, he discovers that Kitty is also working for Humpty. Betrayed by his best friend and heartbroken in a single day, Puss in Boots can hardly bear it. Meanwhile, Humpty is hailed as a hero, while Puss in Boots is stripped of all his belongings and thrown into the jail. And there he accidentally meets Jack from the fairy tale of the magic beans. Jack claims that he is the true owner of the beans and reveals that the monster in the castle is actually the mother of the golden goose. If the young goose is captured, its mother comes to reclaim it. Puss in Boots tries to warn the guards about the danger to his hometown, but it is useless. In the end, he has to use his wet eyes trick to soften the guards' hearts, though they soon regain control and spray him with water. At that moment, a hand silently strikes the guard from behind. It is Kitty, because she feels remorse for her actions and wants to make amends. Because of his love for her, Puss in Boots forgives her and together they escape. Unfortunately, Kitty is captured again, so she chooses to stay behind to help Puss in Boots. Meanwhile, Humpty, despite having wealth and fame, still feels an emptiness deep down. He begins recalling memories with Puss in Boots and their oath to always be brothers. When Puss in Boots reappears, he wants to reclaim the golden goose to return it to its mother, but Humpty refuses and opens his heart, explaining that ever since Puss in Boots becomes a hero, He feels he no longer belongs. They realize all this time they have misunderstood each other. Puss in Boots apologizes and proposes they cooperate to return the golden goose, but it is too late because Mother Goose has already arrived to reclaim her child, seeing the golden eggs in everyone's hands. She becomes furious and begins rampaging. Puss in Boots and Humpty quickly devise a plan. Humpty brings the young goose to the bridge, while Puss in Boots lures Mother Goose there. No matter how he tries to persuade her, Mother Goose does not understand cat language. Seeing Mother Imelda in danger, Puss in Boots rushes to save her, which regains her trust. Puss in Boots uses a rope to guide Mother Goose's head toward her child to change her direction, because she moves so fast. Puss in Boots urges Humpty to run faster. Suddenly Jack and Jill appear again, trying to capture the young goose, but Kitty blocks them. Finally, Humpty activates airplane mode and reaches the bridge. The Mother Goose's weight is too much, so the bridge collapses. In the perilous moment, Puss in Boots holds onto both Humpty and the golden goose. This time he vows never to abandon Humpty again. Humpty feels deep remorse, so he chooses to sacrifice himself so that Puss in Boots can save the golden goose. After returning the gosling to Mother Goose, Puss in Boots immediately runs to check on Humpty and discovers that he has turned into a golden egg. Seeing this, Mother Goose takes Humpty's golden egg along with her gosling back to the castle, bringing back peace for everyone. Puss in Boots regains his honor and makes Mother Imelda proud once again for daring to face the past with courage. His crime of bank robbery still stands, so he continues his nomadic life. However, this time he is not alone because Kitty accompanies him. They dance the cha-cha-cha together as they run away.